everybody. I'm Z Garcia.
I'm Chris Yee.
And I'm Mike Delisio.
Today we're going to be taking a look at Come Together, a worker placement game set in the 60s in a music festival in which we are going to be gathering our workers. We are going to be deploying them to a few different places, building up our stages, hiring new acts, and then of course getting the crowds in there to come watch those up-and-comers and the established stars. Before we get any further into it and explain to you, sort of our thoughts on it, let me go ahead and give you an overview of the game, and we'll be right back. The game is going to be played over 3 days, and each day we are going to use these boards, in this case the ones for the first day. We'll randomize all 4, and we'll place them in these spots here. There are also decks of cards that tie to the 4 symbols listed right here. Like, for example, over here we've got attendees to the festival, these meeples. Here we've got stars that are going to be performing at the show. And we've got stages over here. We've got tents over here. And we are going to be putting out a display from the matching deck of 4 cards. The players are each going to have a board like this one here. They have a few workers that you begin with. And then you've got 4 tracks that you're going to be managing. This top one here is going to be radio advertisements. So drumming up, the advertising and then the interest for your up-and-coming stars at the show. Here we've got TV. That's going to be for the established stars at the show. Newspaper, which is a much shorter track, but it resets at the end of every day and is tied to scoring through these people up here. And then across the bottom, there will be another track that uses these cards here, these tent cards, and you'll be using a pawn to move along that path to the different circles. As you get another card, then you'll move on to that one and so on. So those go across the bottom, and then across the top, there will be 2 cards. The first one is a stage, and above that stage, then you can place a performer, and you can build stages out this way. So I'll just set this one aside for now. You're also dealt a number of cards that you begin with over here that will just sit aside, and you'll have access to them possibly later on from this deck. So everybody gets 5 of those, and you'll set them out. But you don't get those yet, okay? So we've got those. And then you are ready to begin. Everybody's going to have a player aid that looks like that. And you'll be taking turns until the day is over. And the day is over when this token here makes it all the way to there. So what is going on in the game? What are we doing? Well, let me explain the general idea, and then I'll take you through this turn. The general idea is using workers to build stages, to put out more camps and tents, to bring people in, and to put on shows that these characters can attend. You need the correct colored characters here, and they denote the type of music they like. And you need the correct colors to go see shows. So, for example, to go see this character, you need 3 of the green ones, 1 of the black ones there, and they can go see that show, get you some victory points. So, the different actions you can take are, A, the first one here. You can send out some of your workers to a location to get you a bonus, possibly, and then to get you the card above it, and some bonus down here. However, when you do that action, you only get the bonus next to where you sent your people. So, for example, my first play might be sending out 2 of these people here to move me up 1 on the newspaper track. Boop. So I would move 1 up on there. And that's all I do right now. Then the next player goes, and the next player perhaps will send 2 workers here to move up on the radio track. The next player after that maybe goes... let's see over here, and they take 1 of the brown meeples, which look like this. They're country music fans. They have a little shirt with a horseshoe on it. So they'll take that. They'll put them in 1 of their tents. So this card right here will show you 3 different tents, and you can place your meeples on there. You need a tent for you to have them show up at the festival. So you need that, and that's it. That's action A. Action B is activating 1 of these boards. To do that, you're going to use your particularly large wooden pillar here, and you'll go up on this track. So you go on the next empty spot. So if I'm the first one to do that, and let's go ahead and say that a few other people did this. So perhaps I've done this one as well, okay? Then on my turn, I can go here. I'm immediately going to get whatever bonus this is in case it's a little flower power, which is this wooden token here. I would get that. And then I am going to select a board upon which I am present. I'm present on this one. We're going to now activate that board. Every player will activate that board if they are there. We get every card we are matched up to, so I would get both of these cards. I can immediately utilize them, trigger them. In this case, I get 2 out of the 3 meeples shown on these, and then the card goes away, or I can just bank it over here for later. And then, or before, your choice, you can do this down here, and this lets you move up on one of 2 tracks or both, split up however you want to. A number of spaces equal to how many of these are occupied. That's important. That means both the purple player and the yellow player will move up 3 on either the TV track, the radio track, or both split up 3, however you want to. You can also use the flower power to give yourself a +1 on that. And you'll notice on the tracks down here, there are bonuses along the way. So for example, if I move up on the TV track 1, 2, the second spot there has a bonus which moves up my tent. So if I go 1, 2, I will also move this one up 1. And if I go on the radio track and do 3, perhaps that's all I do. There's also a few places that are tied to bonuses that will come into play when you score a musical act. Once that's done, these people go to the hippie bus, as the rule book calls them. You'll discard these, and you'll replenish the cards out here. Sometimes you'll have up-and-comers. Sometimes you'll have the general type of card that shows up in that deck. So there are up-and-comers in all 4 decks that will show up as the game goes on. So that's Action A, I already explained. Action B is what I just showed you. Action C is a recall action. And that means taking all your people back from the hippie bus and putting them back on your player board. Once you do that, you have an option of 3 things you can do. When you recall them, you can choose to, first of all, take an extra one that's been set aside at the beginning. You can instead, when you recall these people, give up one out of the game set aside and immediately take a placement action, an A-type action. Or third and finally, you can recall them all, the 3 that were there, or 4, whatever, I recall them, and then I can draw 3 cards from any one of the decks and activate one of those, discarding the other 2. All right? Once that's all done, Action B is done, I take back my pillar, we move this up, I put my pillar back, and the next player will go, and that's how this will advance. Until this is here, somebody goes there, they get 2 victory points, we finish resolving whichever board they picked. This is done for the day. Any other places that still have untriggered cards that have been selected by the players, they'll get those cards, but they don't do this across the bottom. And again, I'm talking about specifically the end of the day here. So they'll still get that card, still send these people out here, take that and do whatever they want with it. Once that's done and the day is done, then we will score the newspapers. And the newspaper is based on something that is being scored, and then based on the level you achieved on your newspaper track. So over here is your newspaper track. If you get it all the way up to the top over here, then you're looking at the best column. In this case, you would score ×4. These are little vendor stalls, ×4. And you get a little bonus of triggering a card that you've got sitting aside over here. If you don't make it out of the starting area at all, that's going to be bad for you. You are going to lose something. In this case, you lose a stage. Over here, you lose a couple of points for every star that you've got out on a stage. Various things like that. And then we go on to scoring acts. If you have a stage, so I'll just put this one here, and you've got a performer there. So let's say I've got this up-and-comer sitting at that stage. I'll just scoot things out. They're at that stage. I can send meeples out there to score them, assuming I've got the correct ones. So let's say I've got these 2 meeples in my tents down here. Well, each ticket here can hold 1. And I have yellow, brown. Yellow, brown is what they need. I am going to get a number of victory points for this up-and-comer as denoted by my radio track. So if I have this all the way up to here, for example, I am going to get 3 victory points. There's a little 3 right there. So I would score that 1, 2, 3 on the score track on the board. And once this player has performed, once the act is done, then I will be done with that card. I'll set it aside face down and be done with it. Stage will stick around. These people come back to their tents. And then once we've all done that, we go on to the next day where I replace these with the ones for day 2 and then eventually the ones for day 3. So those are all the things you are managing. One final thing, and the main reason to move along the tents over here is, depending on where your marker is, will denote what you can keep from round to round, as shown here at the bottom of your board. So I'll show you this is the standard side. This is sort of the advanced side. On the standard side, you'll see if I get the meeple to move up, or the pawn, I suppose, the little rod here. If I can get it to move all the way up to just below this spot here, that will let me keep 5 meeples and 3 of these cards down here from one day to the next. Anything above and beyond that, I lose from down here, and I cannot carry over. There is also a couple of other things I haven't talked about, minor things. The tickets, some spaces will give you tickets. These here you can place below a stage, and it allows you to have one more person show up at that show. And you need that for the really big stars, like this character. When they perform, they need 4 audience members. The only way to have them be viewed by 4 audience members is to have an extra ticket here. But you get a bigger bonus for this one. You get a higher score for that. And then the other thing is the back of this is going to be a little stand, a little water stand. As you are putting out stages in this game, which we have up here, you'll notice that they have half booths showing on the sides. As you put together 2 half booths that match, you are creating perhaps a water stand or a pizza stand, which is worth quite a few points. But if you have some things that don't match, like this here, you could, if you earn one of these tickets, use the back of it as a full water stand, like so. And now you've got one of those. That's going to be worth some points at the end of the game, as denoted right here. 3, 5, and 7 points for the pizza stands. All right, there you go. So that is come together a little bit, not a full explanation, but a little bit of how it all comes together.
Man,
groovy.
Like a Beatles song.
Wow.
Yellow Submarine.
Correct.
Sinking. This review is sinking, is what I'm hinting at.
Okay, got it. So let's first talk about the theme here and what we thought of that. It's a pretty different theme. It's not a lot of games, worker placement or otherwise, have this as a setting and a theme. The music festival is sort of the setting and the place of it. Mm-hmm. It's a cool idea. I like it. I think it's different.
I like it a lot. I've kind of made a point of saying that I wish there were more music-themed games out there. Mm-hmm. I know that Tom has also mentioned that as well. And this, like you said, comes at it from even a slightly different angle. I mean, it's a very specific kind of slice of music history. I mean, even if you weren't around in the 60s, which I wasn't, most people are aware of Woodstock and those types of music festivals, and this is clearly going into that. And I won't go too much into it yet, but I think that the theme actually helps the players kind of work through things too, so we can talk about that in a minute. But the theme, I love it. I love the theme.
I love the theme. It's distinct. It's unique. As you said, it fits what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it also really sets this game apart. You walk by it on the shelf, you see it at the shelf on the game stores, and then you say, I know already that that's something different. Look at the font, the groovy of the colors and stuff. It's eye-catching.
Can you imagine looking at this box cover through a lava lamp?
Oh.
That's next level right there.
Oh, I'll turn on the black lights.
No, that's too far.
Okay.
Mike wasn't around in the 60s. Where were you living in the 60s?
Let's not get caught up in the details. So,
all right, so let's talk about gameplay and a little bit about that. Like I said, it's a worker placement game, and you saw the overview already of how that works. A couple of interesting things in this one. There's sort of a delayed gratification
very much
thing. That's a big part of the design. The idea of You place out your workers. You get a little bonus, or not. Some places don't have one. And then you sit and wait for someone else or you yourself to trigger that entire region. Then you get the cards, and then you move up on the tracks that you absolutely need to move up on. What did you guys think of the cadence of the whole thing? I found it to be there's like it's okay, it's not bad, and it's different, distinct.
Right.
You said,
Yeah.
I don't out and out love it though.
I like it, but I think that it does make the game, I think the word that we all use was a little bit clutchy. It has kind of a stop and go kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Because the cadence of the game is such that we can each place a worker out, get a small little bonus, and then you place a worker out, get a small little bonus. We can have these quick turns, and then we say, okay, I'm going to activate one of the regions on this turn. Which one? You know, it kind of slows it down a bit. And then everyone decides how they want to distribute their bonuses. It kind of breaks up the flow of it, not in a bad way, but it's a noticeable way.
Yeah, I think there's positives and negatives to it. I think, like you said, there's fits and starts, which is not the most smooth feeling. But the positive end of that is that it allows for some interesting timing decisions that I think wouldn't be there if it was just a straight round structure.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And it also allows you to do one of my favorite things in games, which is kind of player-controlled ending of rounds, ending of games.
Yeah.
It adds a little bit of, anxiety is too strong of a word, but angst, right? Some angst or turn angst, where it's like, okay, I could really push this forward, but do I want to? Probably not, because it'll allow me to do more things. But if I don't do it, it may not come back around to me. And so I kind of like those things. But the negative side of that is that you don't have the smooth turn flow. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. They're going to do this every time.
Yeah, I think for me the bad part, if you want to call it that, is that I don't always know everything I have.
Right.
That's what it is. You know what I mean? Because those things out there, you go on that card. If you place on a card, that card is yours for sure at the end of the round, even.
Right.
Yes.
Because even if the end of the round gets triggered, and your location, wherever you have something, is not the one chosen, you still get those cards, you just don't do the bonuses of moving up on the tracks, right? And I have a hard time then accounting for things I technically already own, but I haven't been allowed to take yet.
I hadn't thought of it until you just said it, but this is really a drafting game in some ways. You're bidding. You're going to get those cards. Now, you're not going to necessarily get them. You're going to get them in your quote unquote hand. You're not going to get them in your tableau. You have to.
You could deploy them if you want immediately, or you could set them aside.
That's true.
Right?
So you get that option there.
Yeah,
so.
It's kind of a card drafting game.
But I hadn't thought of it until you said that just now.
And I find that a little tricky.
Yeah,
the idea of having something already and having to remind myself, no, those meeples I'm going to need are taken care of.
Right.
I definitely have them, or I will at the end of the round, I just don't have them here right now when I do my accounting.
Right.
The timing of it, which of the 4 zones gets triggered, isn't too punishing. I think the thing is that this game could have done a few things that made it feel more punishing. There is a punishment track if you don't move far enough on the one track, the newspaper track that resets. But it's easy enough to avoid those cards at the end of the round. Even if that area doesn't get activated and you don't get the track bonus, you're guaranteed those cards.
Right.
I like that this game has that angst, but it's not going to beat you down like other games that are very tight.
Yeah, I don't think it's a punishing game. I don't think it's designed to feel punishing.
Yeah.
There's a couple, like you said, a slight pullback there on the newspaper scoring, but it's not terrible. It shouldn't decide your game for you, I think. What did you guys think of, I guess, there's that whole, you can play this game and sort of add levels onto it. So you can play intro, everybody has the same board, you have no special starting stage, any of that stuff. You play on the backs of the stages, and they are actually not bonuses, but detriments. And everybody has a slightly different detriment.
Oh, your player board.
Your player board.
Not your stages,
Yeah, the player board has a slight detriment if you play on the advanced side or whatever you call it. And then there are the special bonuses that you can draft at the beginning. which gives you your starting stage is not just a plain stage, it has some bonus. Some always-on infinite symbol bonus for the whole game. What did you guys think of those? You like the idea of that?
I do, but the first thing I want to say is that there are a lot of games that do this. Advanced side, standard side.
Yeah.
Asymmetric side, everyone's the same side. For many of those games, if you're playing with experienced gamers, I'm like, we could have just started with this. I think in this game, you want to start with the basic stuff.
I agree.
I really do. Because
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, and also it doesn't have a lot of the traditional flow that you find in Euro games. We've been talking a lot about that. So I think it helps to play it on the standard side. That being said, I do like some of the things that this advanced stuff does. There is a question out there that maybe one of the player powers seems a bit more powerful than others. I don't know that. We haven't played it extensively enough. I can't say myself personally.
We all felt that way,
we
though.
felt it at the
with this
table.
one power in it that doesn't seem to come with a drawback bundled in. Right?
All the other ones seem to have one negative thing to let you do something
give
else.
up this and do that instead. Ooh, nice flexibility, new option for just me. This one power is keep a guy around instead of keep him on the van instead of putting him out. Good. To take 2 actions.
Really good.
So it's like, wait, so it's like do something good as the payment and then get something even better as the reward?
Yeah.
Where's the drawback here? So, yeah, but again, we don't know. It just seems a little iffy.
It's an open question at this point,
Right,
but I do like having those options. I think it's going to add to the replayability of it a lot. So
I do like it, too. I think it's cool to just give you a little something different to begin with. Other than that, most everything else sort of flows the same way, same tracks with a couple of variances in there. Having something different is nice, though. Anything else?
This game has a really good sense of humor.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, we cannot ignore the fact that we have laughed aloud at many, many of the cards, the acts that you get to perform and you book to play on your stage. There was one that was a Careless Whisper.
That's really good.
They're all sort of board game puns in a way.
Yeah.
But they're not cringy. I think they work.
They do work. Now, the only negative that I will say, and this is in regards to components as well, because we didn't really get into components too much. Some of the fonts are very
Super
difficult
hard to read.
And it's a shame because the names are so clever that it makes it a little bit harder to mechanically, game weight, play wise. It doesn't affect anything at all to not be able to read those. It's not going to be like, what do I do with this card? It's not like that, but you lose a little bit of that fun of getting it because you have to, Careless Whisper, I get it, that type of a thing. So,
along a similar note, there is a lot of symbols.
Yes.
There's a lot of symbology in this game. Partway through your first game, I think you'll get pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
Except for a few things that you do have to look up. The player powers are symbols that we really had to kind of reread over a few of them just to make sure.
The smiley face bonus icon I thought was...
That's a weird one.
It's a weird one,
I mean, looking at the back of the rulebook is very funny when you first flip the whole thing over because they are utilizing that with icons, but it is... the entire page is covered with iconography and its meaning.
Yeah.
It's a lot. This will overwhelm you with that symbology. I think it could have been a little stronger with the symbols they chose to represent different things. And speaking of components, I think the components are generally pretty good.
Yeah.
The meeples are nice, screen printed, and they have a little shirt that denotes the music type they like.
The big chunky cylinder I like.
Yeah, which is kind of doesn't really do much except to remind you who's the next player really. Yeah, the workers, the little spot they go to has a van drawn on the board. I think it's a good looking game. Card quality's good.
There are tracks that could get bumped and have a couple of times, and that could be an issue. It would have been nice if they were recessed. I don't, but generally I'm happy with the components.
Yeah,
I am too. Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we jump into some final thoughts?
I know. I think we covered a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of positives in it. There really are.
Go ahead, Chris. Hit it. What do you got?
All right. I like this a lot. I think I like this as much as I do because of the unique theme and the setting and the look of it. I think all the components are quite competent. I don't mind a mess of symbology, especially because partway through the first game, I think we all got it. And then playing it more since then, I didn't really need much refresher. So it's that first impression's a little hard, but the other thing I think is that even this is a high player count game. I don't know that I would personally want to play it at 6.
Yes, I agree.
But one of the things I always worry about, I'll say a score. I'm giving this an 8. I like it a lot. It's really fun. The point I was making is that even sitting on an end or sitting kind of far from everything, everything's readable. I think that there's a lot of smart graphic and visual design as well as gameplay design that went into this. So it's an 8 for me. I have a lot of fun with it.
I'm going to come in at a 7. I like it. I think it's going to be even higher for you, though, assuming you are a gamer and have played a lot of games. If you prioritize something being fresh and different over something being out and out good, even if it's recycled. Ark Nova comes to mind. Ark Nova is a game that has a lot of mechanisms from other things. People love it, though. But if you're someone that played Ark Nova and found yourself thinking, I've kind of played this already, what's the big hoopla? You might like this game, because it's distinct. It does things in a different way, and that's commendable. You know, that it tries to do different theme, different cadence, a different vibe, tying what's happening to the thematic implications in the game. That's all handled very well. It's a little clutchy. It's a little, you know, like you said, in fits and starts, kind of. It's a game I'm on the cusp of thinking is great, and every now and then I'm like, this is good, but and I'm enjoying myself. But man, if this was sanded down a little bit over here, or this was streamlined right there, I think I'd find the valley I'm looking for a little more easily instead of all these winding paths. So I like it, but yes, if you're that kind of person and you prioritize that originality, I think you'll like it even more. 7 out of 10 for me.
I'm going to split the difference. I'll go 7.5.
Okay.
Okay.
So the things that bring it down a bit for me are the fact that we've mentioned some of them, but also this is not a game I particularly look forward to teaching anybody.
Sure, yeah.
I think this is a tricky teach. Also, there is a fair amount of setup to the game and a lot of bits, and those are things.
Upkeep.
A lot of upkeep. Those are things that I do consider. That's just for me as personally as a gamer, and that's why I'm giving you my opinion. But the theme does a lot of heavy lifting.
Okay.
A lot of heavy lifting for me, because while I can see, like you said, the originality is not necessarily the highest. You know, it's basically a lot of moving up tracks, but the theme makes sense, right? You've got your tents down here. We're going to hold your concert goers, and they, of course, want to go to the stage to watch the people. It really does make sense, and it makes it easier for me to internalize these rules because there are a lot of them. But again, don't really look forward to teaching it, but I like playing it. I really love the theme. I love the look. I love the aesthetic. And I like that they did try something different with this. So 7.5 for me. Like you said, really close to, I feel like a couple little things different could have had this into the excellent range, but just kept it a little bit lower than that.
Yeah, I agree. I will say this. Chilifox, the company putting this out, they're definitely one of the companies, one of the publishers that I'm on the lookout for at this point.
Right.
They've put out 3 games or so that I'm aware of. They're all very different from one another, and they're all clever. They're not always slam dunks, but I always walk away with a smile thinking, I want to see what they do next. So there you go. Strongest score then is an 8 out of 10 from us. That is a seal of approval, everybody, for Come Together. And that's going to do it for this one. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Chris Yee.
And I'm Mike DeLisio.
We'll see you on the next one. Enjoy the music.